The Quarry is a survival horror interactive drama video game, played by a third-person perspective similar to Until Dawn, The Walking Dead, and Life is Strange. This is a successor to Until Dawn, so I will try and compare it to that as well. In the game you control 9 different teenagers who must survive a night at the Hackett's Quarry. I just recently finished a playthrough on this game that I've uploaded to YouTube, so I've had the pleasure of filming my playthrough as well as going back and looking at the footage, which I've never had the experience of doing before. I feel like this helped me understand the story and pick up on things that I missed in my first playthrough. Although I really enjoyed this game and I think it has some things in the game that are 10 out of 10, it definitely has a lot of flaws. In this spoiler-free review, I'll be going over the gameplay, the graphics, the level or world design, the storytelling, the script, the characters, and also the issues, the difficulty, and if it's a fair price. And I'll try and do all of this without giving away too much about the game. So let's start with the gameplay. Do I think they did a good job with it? Yes. Do I think that it was amazing? No. Given this type of video game formula, I'll give it a pass because it is similar to The Quarry, it is similar to The Walking Dead like I previously stated. However, I would have liked more of a third-person viewpoint. That's just my personal preference. I feel like the camera didn't work well some of the time. There were times you were walking in a straight direction and then your camera just cuts to a tarot card out in the distance somewhere, and your character automatically just starts walking in another direction. When the camera cuts back, you have to reposition yourself and start walking in the same direction you were going. I felt like there were times where you walk inside buildings and the camera's just in a weird angle and you have to maneuver around and walk in weird directions. And there were also times that the camera was positioned in a way that you couldn't actually see the item you wanted to grab. You could just see a glowing line suggesting that there was an item there. It's more noticeable on a PC, I'd assume. However, it wasn't that game breaking. I still had fun. I still didn't feel like it limited my gameplay experience. However, personally, I would have preferred choices, like how in Red Dead, the camera is just so perfect because you can choose what camera, not exactly what you want, but you can still change it around. And I feel like if you could do that with this, it would have just perfected the gameplay experience. The shooting in this game is okay. You are stationary while shooting, and I wouldn't expect much more of that. However, one complaint I do have is the speed of the characters. They are just so slow. It doesn't matter how much pressure is on them to get from one point to another, they will always walk at a normal walking pace. Even if you're holding shift, they might hurry up a little bit, but you never play as a character that runs. Ever. Unless you're doing a quick time event. I feel like I should address the quick time events in this gameplay section as well. They were mediocre. They're just simple quick time events. There's nothing difficult about the quick time events unless you're like me and you accidentally press the wrong button. It is a bit annoying when you press the wrong button because you can't go back. I accidentally killed off one of my main characters because I pressed down instead of left. So it can get you sometimes, but overall, if you're not like me, you're probably going to be fine with these QuickTime events. And yet again, for a game like The Quarry, I wouldn't judge it based off of that. The gameplay is completely fine for what type of game The Quarry is. Now onto the graphics. Holy shit. This game does look fucking amazing. Even when I had my resolution on 2K because I had to film it at the same time, it still looked fucking spectacular. It looked great. The facial animations were at times bloody amazing and at times really shocking though. There were times when the character would do a big expression like a sad face or a cry or a yell, and then it would kind of be janky. I noticed one of the characters kept on having a buggy eye. I'm not sure if that was just his character, but it didn't look natural. Apart from that, this does have some of the best facial animations in video games ever. And the textures, the lighting, and how well it could run even though I was filming was pretty surprising. There was one point where I was looking at this character's hair and it honestly, you could see the individual strands. It was so good. It's really good. So on the graphics side of things, I'd actually give it a 10 out of 10. I don't know how you could be much better than this. Let's get into the level and world design. There is an area where you enter a junkyard at the end of the game. Not spoiling anything that happens here, but this level was designed so well. There were lights that would come on and shine up the junkyard. There were little tunnels of like junk that you could climb under. This section of the game was honestly one of the best designed levels I've ever played. I don't know why, but I personally really liked it. There isn't a huge variety overall of different maps and levels, but the ones that you do get are very fleshed out and there's a lot of character to them. And there are also levels that you do come back to later in the game, but I feel like it did make sense in the story to come back to these places. You can tell that the game developers did put a lot of love into the levels that you were playing. And there were some really, really cool and well-designed sections. With the storytelling, however, I feel like it is a lot of a hit and miss. The overall premise is spectacular. The backstory you can get is really, really well fleshed out. And they do answer a lot of your questions with some of the characters. They go into the backstory of some of the characters. They go into flashbacks. However, the way it's delivered to you can be a bit annoying. Without spoiling anything, there are definitely times where you could get answers from someone and it would make sense for them to give you answers. There are times where they just prolong giving you the answer just so it's more of a build-up. But it's just really frustrating when you get the answer. It's like, you could have told me that. It would have put us all in a better position if you just explained yourself. And I feel like this specific thing that I'm talking about in the game made the plot twist in the game both spectacular and pretty annoying. However, throughout playing the game, the characters that you play as and the character development that you have is just amazing. I actually grew to really like the characters, and it did feel like a movie or TV show that I was really invested in. I wanted to know what happened next. After I stopped playing it, I was thinking about it. I was wondering what happened to these characters. I was hoping not to kill anyone, and surprisingly, I actually liked every single character that you could play as. There was not one character that I disliked. There were definitely some favorites like Ryan, however I felt they did a really good job of giving distinct characteristics to each character and fleshing them out as the story progressed. And this is honestly a big props to the actors and actresses. They all did a really fucking great job. And I feel like this should be separated from the script, because even when they were given really cringy lines, they still made it work. It was definitely more of a script fault, like, you know, the prequels of the Star Wars, than the actual actors themselves. Now let's get into the script, which is both, yet again, amazing and dog shit at times. There are some of the cringiest lines in video game history, especially during the start of this game, that I just can't ignore. I don't care if I'm going to spoil this part, it's not a big part of the story, but when Jacob picks up the peanut butter pops, or whatever the fuck they're called, just mute your game. Just mute it, because I feel like this is the reason why girls are lesbians. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but this game will turn you into a lesbian. And although I feel like the cringe aspect dials down a lot, especially after like the third or fourth chapter of the game, it somehow turns into another negative. There's this thing that the characters keep on doing where they question everything that they say. So someone might start a conversation with something and then the other person will be like, well, what do you mean by that exactly? And then the other person will be like, oh, well, I'm just saying, Dark Souls 1 is a pretty good game. And then the other person will be like, what do you mean? Can you explain why? I feel like you're not telling me the whole truth here. I don't trust you. And it's just like, you know, it gets tiresome after a while. The first few times I get it, but then it just becomes a repeating thing where I feel like they're trying to stretch out the dialogue, and it just gets into this really awkward, weird back and forth that just seems to break up the story in a way. However, I do feel like the different choices of dialogue that you can pick between make sense. Like, these are the questions that I was thinking in my head that popped up in the screen. It was pretty freaky at times. It was as if the game was reading my mind. And there were also times where I was recording, I picked an answer and I was like, fuck you. And then the character was like, fuck you. And I was like, that wasn't even in the line. Like, like she literally said exactly what I said to a T at one point. It was so weird. That could be luck, but I feel like they actually understand what you as a player are thinking and want to say. This aspect of the game, fucking amazing. I do feel like they actually perfected this part better than Until Dawn. And when a character is pissing you off, genuinely, you can be pissed off at them. It's so great. And these choices of dialogue definitely change the way that the story unfolds. And sometimes I felt like being an arsehole to someone that was being an arsehole to me, even if getting them on my good side would benefit me. I didn't care, and guess what? I still liked it. I liked it that I could do that. You can turn a good relationship into a bad one, a bad relationship into a good one, and I feel like the way that the characters didn't really know each other at the start, and then after trauma bonding, obviously, everyone grew closer together. But at the same time, since there was a lot more pressure, there was a lot more arguments, and these arguments didn't feel out of place. Although I've scattered a lot of the issues around some of the main topics, I'll now just talk about general performance issues that I've had playing this game. There were a lot of frame rate drops, there were a lot of frozen cutscenes where the audio lagged behind. I don't know if it was because I was recording, but I had to dial down the graphics quite a bit. And it was kind of unfortunate because I really liked the way that the game looked with the better graphics, but the game was just not keeping up. I thought it was just me, but it's definitely not. I was researching online and there's a lot of frame rate issues, a lot of audio lag behind, and my game crashed quite a bit. It was an ongoing thing where I'd just finish a chapter and it would just be at a black screen and it wouldn't start. And sometimes I would wait for like 30 seconds and it would start. Sometimes it wouldn't start after a few minutes, and it was just really annoying having to close the game and open it back up again. Yet again, this is just the state that video games are being published in, but it's not excusable. I know the publishers like to push out a game before it's properly functional. Other than this, there actually wasn't any glitches in the game. Surprisingly, no glitches. I don't think I encountered a single bug outside of the cutscenes, which is just fucking Bethesda, take notes. I know it's not an open world RPG or anything like that, but I played it on day one. And there were no bugs to be found. I know it's strange that I'm putting in compliments in the issues that I had with the game, but I feel like this needs to be addressed because this is a main issue with most games that come out. When you compare this game to Until Dawn, however, I feel like it has less of a horror aspect. It is more of a thriller, it's more of a gore fest. If you're into that, it's definitely the game for you. But I felt like they were changing the way that the game scared people, like how Resident Evil 8 didn't scare people as much as Resident Evil 7, and then 7 didn't scare people as much as Resident Evil 6. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I feel like they were doing a Village on us. It didn't scare me at all, like Until Dawn kind of did. You can see why this game is rated R, in Australia at least, and I feel like they were pretty ballsy with some of the stuff that they got away with. To wrap things up, I want to close things with the difficulty. I feel like this game is pretty damn easy. If you think of it as a game from getting to the start to the finish, it's my grandma can play it. Like, this game isn't challenging at all unless you count wanting to keep everyone alive, and I feel like that is hard. There are a lot of things that you can do wrong more than you can do right, and when I killed off one of my characters, it actually resulted in the other character dying as well. If I didn't do that, I would have ended up with all of the main characters surviving, and that's all I cared about. And the cost of playing it, is it worth buying it? Honestly, surprisingly, I'm going to go ahead and say wait for a sale. If this is your type of game, and you know you'll have fun with it, if you had fun with Until Dawn, if you had fun with The Walking Dead, and these are your type of games, go ahead, get it. But in Australia, I paid $90, which is around $60 US, and I feel like it's a bit of a stretch. You can finish this game really, really quickly like I did. But if you're keen to play it over and over again, get different endings, see what the ending's like if everyone dies, see what the ending's like if everyone lives, just like Until Dawn, then I think, sure, get it. It'll be worth your money. If you want to go around collecting things, sure, get it. It is a really good game. But this type of game, for the price tag, like, I don't think interactive games should be full price. That is just my personal opinion, especially close to $90, which I paid it for. I'm only thinking about it in a sense that I paid the same amount of money for this that I did with Red Dead Redemption 2. Now that is crazy to think about, yeah? I'm just saying, I'm just putting ideas out in the world, okay? My final score for this would be a solid 7.5. I feel like its gameplay is just fine, its graphics are amazing, its level and world design is really good, and its storytelling does have high ups and pretty low lows at times. And my god, I'm forgetting about the acting. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 across the board on the acting spectrum side of things. And I do feel like the big takeaway from this is the characters. In no way do I dislike this game. I know I was critiquing it quite a bit, but it's just because it could have been better. It really could have. It is a good game, but it's not very good. It's not amazing. But that has been my review of The Quarry. Definitely get it when it's on sale. It will be a wild ride. You will have fun with it. You will connect with it. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to. No pressure, but I heard that if you do subscribe, a big booty Latina chick will show up at your door. I don't know where I heard this, but someone at the YouTube headquarters said that they had, too many big booty Okay, no, I'm sorry. Have a good one. Yeah, catch you later.